Hello everyone and a very warm welcome to another lesson. In this lesson, we are going to learn about IELTS Speaking Test Part 1. Our topic is food. Food. Now, if you're planning to sit for your IELTS speaking test, then there is a chance that you may get some of these questions. In this lesson, we are going to look at the questions and the sample answers. Now, let us begin. Question 1. The examiner may ask you, what's your favorite food? What's your favorite food? Now, what the examiner wants to know is, out of all the food that you eat, which one is your favorite? Which one do you like the most? Out of all the food that you eat, which one do you like the most? So you have to identify one dish. Okay? Now, you may answer this question by saying, let's look at sample answer 1. My favorite food has to be rice and beans because I'm a vegetarian. Furthermore, I find this dish to be quite tasty, healthy, and easy to prepare. My favorite food has to be rice and beans because I'm a vegetarian. Furthermore, I find this dish to be quite tasty, healthy, and easy to prepare. Now, in that answer, you have identified what your favorite food is, and that is rice and beans, but you have also explained why, and that is because you are a vegetarian. Furthermore, you have given more reasons as to why it is your favorite food, and that is because it is quite tasty, healthy, and easy to prepare. Now, I would always recommend that for each of the questions you provide 2 to 3 reasons. You can join your reasons together using connectors such as furthermore or and also I would recommend that you provide your answers in threes. Like for example, look at the last sentence. I find this dish to be quite tasty, healthy, and easy to prepare. Now, when you provide your answers in 3 parts, it makes you more fluent, okay? It makes you sound as if you are quite fluent, but also it gives you a chance to think of what you're going to say next. I find this dish to be quite tasty, healthy, and easy to prepare. Now, let's move on to the next question. Have you always liked the same food? Have you always liked the same food? Now, in this question, the examiner wants to know, since you're a young child, since you're young, have you always eaten the same foods and liked them? Have you always liked the same foods that you eat now as an adult as you did when you're a child? Okay? Now, you can answer this question by saying sample answer 2. When the examiner says, have you always liked the same food? Not at all. When I was young, I enjoyed meat dishes and salads, but now that I don't eat meat anymore, I find plant-based meals much more delicious and nutritious. Not at all. When I was young, I enjoyed meat dishes and salads, but now that I don't eat meat anymore, I find plant-based meals much more delicious and nutritious. Now, in that answer, you have made it very clear that you have not always liked the same food. Not at all, okay? Because when you are young, you enjoyed meat dishes and salads, but now that you don't eat meat anymore, then you find plant-based meals much more delicious and nutritious, okay? Now, you notice that in that answer, I begin with not at all, and then I have an exclamation mark. Now, the reason for that is in English, or rather when you're doing your IELTS speaking test, you are also being tested for the use of intonation. Intonation is when you rise or you lower your voice to capture your emotions, to reflect your feelings, okay? So when the examiner asks, have you always liked the same food, and you say not at all, okay, then you need to raise your voice a little bit. In that answer, you also notice that I explain what it is that I liked earlier on and what I like now. So always ensure that you provide a comprehensive answer, okay? I enjoyed meat and meat dishes and salads when I was younger, but now that I don't eat meat anymore, I prefer plant-based meals, and that is vegetarian meals. And why? Because I find them more delicious and nutritious. Okay? Now, let's move on to question 3. Is there any food that you dislike? Is there any food that you dislike? Now, what the examiner wants to know, is there any particular type of food that you do not like to eat? Is there any specific type of food that you absolutely do not like to eat? Okay? Now, you can answer that question by saying, most certainly, I detest pasta with a passion. Its texture makes me feel as if I'm eating a slug or a piece of rubber. Is there any food that you dislike? Most certainly, I detest pasta with a passion. Its texture makes me feel as if I'm eating a slug or a piece of rubber. Now, in that answer, I have identified the food or the dish that I do not like, and that is pasta. In fact, I have used a very strong word in English, and that is detest. To detest is to hate something with a passion, okay? Now, but I've also explained why, and that's because I find its texture makes me feel as if I'm eating a slug. A slug is a snail or a piece of rubber, okay? Now, let's move on to question 4. What is a common meal in your country? What is a common meal in your country? What the examiner wants to know, what meal is eaten a lot in your country? What type of food is eaten a lot in your country? Now, you may answer that question by saying, let's look at sample answer 4. When the examiner says, what is a common meal in your country? Then you can say, curry is a very popular dish in my country. Majority of the people love to eat spicy food. It is often served with rice and naan bread. Curry is a very popular dish in my country. Majority of the people love to eat spicy food. It is often served with rice and naan bread. Okay? Now, in that answer, I have identified the meal, but that's not all. I have explained why people in my country love to eat it, and that is because it's spicy. But that's not all. I have explained how that meal is eaten, and that is, it is often served with rice and naan bread. So whatever question the examiner asks you, please ensure that you provide 2 to 3 answers, 2 to 3 points in order to score high marks, and join your points together using linking words, okay? Use linking words like and, furthermore, okay? Let's move on to question 5. Do you have a healthy diet? Do you have a healthy diet? Now, in that question, the examiner wants to know whether the food that you eat is well balanced in terms of nutrition, okay? The examiner wants to know whether the type of food that you eat is nutritious, whether it is well balanced, whether it is healthy. Now, you can answer that question by saying sample answer 5. So when the examiner asks, do you have a healthy diet? You can say, yes, I always ensure that every meal that I eat is well balanced in terms of proteins, carbohydrates, and good fat. I always eat fruits to get my vitamins as well as plenty of vegetables for roughage. Yes, I always ensure that every meal that I eat is well balanced in terms of proteins, carbohydrates, and good fat. I always eat fruits to get my vitamins as well as plenty of vegetables for roughage. Now, in that answer, you have made it very clear that you eat a well-balanced diet. And a well-balanced diet has proteins, which you get from meat, eggs, but also beans. And then you have carbohydrates, which you get from your pasta and your rice, that is starch. And then you have good fat, that is your omega-3 fats, like for example from fish. But that's not all. A well-balanced diet should also have fruits to get your vitamins. And finally, you need your vegetables for roughage, okay? So ensure that you provide a comprehensive and detailed answer. Now let's move on to question 6. What do you think of fast food? What do you think of fast food? Now what the examiner wants to know here is, what is your opinion about fast food? What is your opinion about fast food? And fast food refers to things like burgers, fried chips, kebab, all this food that you get from fast food restaurants. Your examiner wants to know, what do you think of that type of food? What's your opinion? Okay? So when the examiner asks, what do you think of fast food? Then you can say, I'm not a fan of fast food at all because I think it is very unhealthy and fattening. It can lead to a lot of health problems such as obesity, heart disease, and diabetes. For that reason, I stay away from fast food restaurants. When the examiner asks, what do you think of fast food? Then you can say, I'm not a fan of fast food at all because I think it is very unhealthy and fattening. It can lead to a lot of health problems such as obesity, heart disease, and diabetes. For that reason, I stay away from fast food restaurants. Now, in that answer, you have provided a number of reasons why you don't like fast food, okay? Firstly, you have pointed out that it is very unhealthy. Number 2, it is very fattening. Number 3, it can lead to a lot of health problems. And you have given some examples such as obesity, heart disease, and diabetes. And finally, you have pointed out that you stay away from fast food restaurants. You do not eat food from those restaurants, okay? So your opinion is very clear here, all right? Now, as we come to the end of this lesson, I'm just going to give you some general tips to ensure that you pass your IELTS Speaking Test Part 1. Now, tip number one, ensure that for each question you provide 2 to 3 reasons. And to join your reasons together, use joining words. Like for example, in my first sample answer, I used and I used furthermore. In the second answer, I used but, okay? And as you carry on with the rest of the answers, you notice that I use a number of joining words. If you're not familiar with joining words or what we call connectors or linking words, feel free to have a look at my playlist on grammar, and you will find a video that explains more about connectors or linking words. Tip number 2, ensure that you use a variety of sentence structures. Ensure that you use simple, compound, and complex sentences. You notice that in my answers, I have used a number of them. In every of my answer, I have used at least 2 types of sentence structures. In some of the answers, I've used the 3 of them straight away. Like in the first question, I have used a compound sentence. My favorite food has to be rice and beans because I'm a vegetarian, okay? Now, the other sentence is a complex sentence. Furthermore, I find this dish to be quite tasty, healthy, and easy to prepare. For example, the answer number 5 and answer number 6, I have used complex sentences, okay? So ensure that you use a variety of sentence structures. If you're not familiar with the 3 types of sentence structures that we have in English, feel free to have a look at my playlist on grammar. I have uploaded a video that is called the 3 types of sentences that we have in English. When you look at that video, you will know how to join those sentences and form them using connectors or linking words. Now, tip number 3, ensure that you use intonation, okay? And that means raise your voice and lower your voice to reflect your answers, to reflect the emotion that is behind your answers, okay? That is very useful. And finally, I'm going to read for you the questions, and as I read the questions, please think of an answer. Are you ready? Okay, let us begin. What's your favorite food? Have you always liked the same food? Is there any food that you dislike? What is a common meal in your country? Do you have a healthy diet? What do you think of fast food? Now, I hope that you are able to answer those questions pretty well. But if you had a few problems here and there, then do not worry, because you have the sample answers, you have the videos, you have the questions. So just keep practicing and practicing, and you will get better with time. As we say in English, practice makes perfect. And before I sign off, I'll give you one final tip. During your IELTS speaking test, ensure that you use the vocabulary that is correct for the topic that you're talking about. Ensure that you use the correct vocabulary. Like, for example, I used the vocabulary that is quite useful when you're talking about food. Like, for example, I talked about rice and beans, vegetarian, dish, tasty, healthy, easy to prepare, meat dishes, salads, okay, plant-based meals, delicious, nutritious, okay, pasta, texture, okay, curry, spicy food, rice, naan bread, okay, well-balanced proteins, carbohydrates, good fat, fruits, vitamins, vegetables, roughage. Roughage means when you eat vegetables, they provide you with fiber. Roughage means fiber, and it helps you not to get constipated. Also, words like unhealthy, fast food, fattening, obesity, heart disease, diabetes, fast food restaurants, all of these are examples of vocabulary that is very relevant to this topic. Now, I will sign off. I will thank you for watching. Please remember to subscribe to the channel for more useful videos, and give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends, your family, and with anybody else who you think may need it. Now, thank you very much for watching, and see you in our next lesson. Bye bye.